came to the old oak tree. It stands beside.
Today is December 2nd, 2019, and this is Glendale Water and Power Commission Board meeting. So let's start with roll call.
Commissioner Carrasco?
Here.
Commissioner Kadikian?
Here.
President Avanesian?
Here.
Commissioner Lau?
Present.
Next item.
2A, approval of the minutes for the November 4th, 2019 meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes as submitted.
I second.
Okay, it is approved. Let's move to next item, please.
3, GWP Commission staff comments.
Is there any comment?
No comment.
So
No comments.
there is no comment. Let's move.
4A, GWP Commission elections for president and secretary.
Mr. President, members of the Commission, we have on the agenda for today the elections of a president and secretary. So if you like, I can facilitate the process for you.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So what we would typically do is we'll open the nominations for secretary and then for president, and then we'll take the vote in that order. Secretary first and then president is how it's typically done under Robert's rules. So why don't we start by opening the nomination for secretary of the Commission? Is there any nominations?
I'm nominating Mr. Carrasco for secretary.
All right. Are there any other nominations for secretary? Okay, hearing none. Let's now close the nominations for secretary and open the nominations for president. Are there any nominations for president of the Commission?
I'm just suggesting Mr. Kotikian for that position.
Okay. Any nominations other than Mr. Kadikian for the president of the Commission? No? Okay. Then the nominations are closed, and I guess we'll go ahead and take a vote, although the outcome seems a little bit obvious here. All those in favor of Commissioner Carrasco for secretary, please say aye.
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 Okay. All right. Congratulations, Mr. Carrasco.
Thank you. I accept.
Okay. And now the vote for the president. All those in favor of Commissioner Kadikian for president of the Commission, please say aye.
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 I accept.
All right. Okay. Well, congratulations, Commissioner Kadikian. You are now our president of the Commission.
Shall we move the location? Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Swap your name.
Do you want me to do it?
Can you please?
I gotta change the names. Let's see here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, we could have just moved the gavel, I suppose. That's okay. It's all the same. That's fine. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, next item on the agenda.
5, reports. 5A, utility modernization update, AMI, and energy efficiency program results.
Mr. President, members of the Commission, I'll ask Craig Keenan to come up. It's really Craig's show today. Both items are his, so I'll let him start with the modernization.
Mr. President, Commission members, my name is Craig Keenan, Deputy General Manager, Business Services, and I'll give an overview of our AMI system and talk a little bit about our energy efficiency programs and results. So it was back 2010 timeframe when we started the AMI project. We were one of 33 public utilities that were selected for what was called then a smart grid grant. Now we call it modernization. We were the first in the nation to sign such a contract. We received $20 million from the DOE. We also received another $1 million from the California Energy Commission for AMI. We started the project in 2010. We completed a pilot in 2010, April 2010, and all our meters were installations were completed in 2011, and we went live in January 2013. AMI, the definition is Advanced Metering Infrastructure. It really refers to a collection of systems that collect the data, house the data, manage the data, and then use that for various programs and various management decisions. So in terms of functionality, you get automated billing, remote meter reading, you can do remote connect and disconnect, you have support for time of use rates, developing base rates, you have online bill payments, prepaid billing plans. There's a whole host of different things, including voltage monitoring, demand response, helps you with bill complaints because the bill's more accurate, and gives you the intelligence to run the utility. There's 4 basic components of the AMI system. You have your electronic meters, you got your backhaul or communication system, your data storage and data management, and then what's called home area networks or devices in the home. Our meters are Itron meters. That's all our electric ones. We collect hourly data. They collect register and interval reads. Commercial, industrial, we collect 15-minute data. We do get voltage from meters at 15-minute intervals. We interrogate these meters twice a day, and we have maintenance windows for when we maintain the meters during the day. We have on the water side, we have the Itron Save Source network and Badger meters. It has an antenna, what they call an ERT, or whatever, that sends the data to the collection system. Our communication system consists of fiber optics, Tropos Wi-Fi, and RF point-to-point for water. In terms of integration with other systems, data management systems, we have a meter data management system that it processes and stores the interval load data. We have our billing system that processes the interval data for bill generation. Our customer information system that connects with the billing system and stores it. I got a graph of how all this connects. OMS, it helps us with our outage management. DMS helps the engineers and to maintain the electricity flow around the city. So in terms of our architecture, the lower left is the water. You have your meters that go to what's called a water CCU that goes to the Tropos and then back up into the system. On the electric side, you have a number of meters out there that are like collection devices, and there's about 600 meters talks to the Tropos, and then the data comes back. One of the main uses for AMI is developing of time of use rates, and we just took a look at those in our last rate case. Here's a look at how you develop time of use rates. So from 2013 to 2020, the end time for time use was 9 p.m. And the start time was 8 in the morning. So that's the window where the peak was. It's a big window. It really, it's so big it doesn't give us price signal to customers to move to off-peak times. So with the new rate increase, we moved, in 1920, we moved it to noon, the start of the peak. And then in 2021, the start will be 2 o'clock. And in 2021, the end time will be 8 o'clock. So you make the window smaller and you increase the price, so you get people to shift to the off-peak times. If you look at, this is residential high season, the peak from in 1819, the cost was 21.5 cents per kilowatt hour. In 1920, we raised that to 27.8 cents a kilowatt hour. And you can see the shoulders are being reduced, but the peak is being increased to encourage that movement. And then next year, it'll go even lower in the base period and to about 36.8 cents a kilowatt hour at the peak. Programs directly supported by AMI. We have this peak energy program we're going to launch in probably February or March. This device, you plug it in the wall and it lets you know when the peak time is, so you know to stop using as much electricity to save money. It's like a stoplight. It turns red, yellow, green, depending on price. You can always also use your, like an Apple Watch or Alexa system to get information. We have our in-home display and thermostat program. This is display you can put in your house. It's actually a picture frame that rolls through different pictures and then has conservation messages and things like that. But there's also a functionality where you can use the remote control to see exactly how much energy you're using at that moment, because it talks to your meter. So if you can bring that up and turn on lights, air conditioning, turn it down, and you watch your usage go up and down so you can help control your usage. We have a mobile My Connect app on the phone. There's about 7,100 people enrolled in this. You can pay your bills, you can look at your usage, you can get messages, you can find out where to charge your electric vehicle, you can get solar output. So there are people like that. We also have O-Power. This uses the AMI data now. There's about 50,000 people get a report every 6 times a year. It's a very good program for energy savings. It saves probably 3,000 to 4,000 megawatt hours a year. We have Water Smart program. It's essentially O-Power for water customers. One big feature that people really like about this is the leak alerts. It can send you a notice that you may have a leak based on continuous flow over 24 hours. So if you're using over a predetermined amounts, 3 or 4 gallons an hour, every hour for 20, you probably have a leak. So they'll send you a notice. Conservation voltage reduction. This takes the voltage data on a feeder and it keeps it within a certain range in order to save energy, and it's really effective. We have theft detection and meter data analytics, helps our customer service identify customers that might be getting electricity and not paying for it, or water. We have traditional energy efficiency programs. Some of these use the AMI data. If like a business program, customer might want their hourly data, and we'll send it to them so they can work on energy efficiency. But we have AC tune-up, smart home upgrades, smart home rebate program, tree power, business energy solutions, and the small business upgrades program. So in terms of results, these are reportable results to the CEC. And we report March of every year for the prior fiscal year. And you can see that, we've been saving, last year was over 16,800 megawatt hours. And it's been going up every year since the beginning. Life of measure savings, as of last year, was 162,000 megawatt hours. Life of measure is you you put something in, it might last 10 years, so you count those savings for 10 years and you add them together. You can see that it's kind of leveled off a little in the past 3 or 4 years. Reason for that is programs they're getting harder and harder to get energy efficiency, because the more you do, the less is available. And probably our average life of measure the past few years is about 4.5 years. When in the beginning, like I said, it might be 10, 15 years. And we also look at you set an energy efficiency target. Every 3 or 4 years, you report that to the CEC, and then you gauge how you're doing against that target. The top line, I believe it's blue. I'm colorblind, but I believe it's blue. And then the one that goes across the middle is the target, the red one. And we've met our targets every year. Is there any questions?
By adding solar to our system, does that affect the curves?
Affect the
Curves.
It's power we don't sell. I mean, because if customers are generating and using it on site, it affects our sales. It's not reflected in these graphs.
Because generally speaking, since we are in any city, solar power is produced in the days.
Yes.
So you see that the consumption comes down, and it changes the curve, generally speaking. But here it was not reflected at all. What was that trend?
No, that would be a different graph to show you the daily load curve for Glendale with solar. I didn't have that one. We produce probably all the systems out there, 30 to 40,000 megawatt hours a year in solar, which is a considerable amount.
As we start shifting our time of use and making it narrower and more expensive, are we going to be doing some reaching out, publicizing, letting the customers know? Because
yes.
Without it, they're going to get a shock to their system, because it seems the increase is going to be substantial.
Well, the time of use is a voluntary program.
Right.
So you'll know full well when you go into that program what to expect. We have been publicizing it, and we will give you actually parameters where we think it might work best for you. And if you don't fall into those parameters, maybe the TOU isn't right for you. So we try to avoid that. But what you have here is people who have literally changed their habits. And so as you increase the peak, you drive people off the peak even more, and you decrease the shoulders. These folks are already accustomed to doing that. They're going to look at the two shoulders on this and go, this is great. They're not even looking at the peak. Their thing is, now, if we were in a mandatory TOU, there you would have a different situation, like Edison's in, for instance. So everybody is on TOU. You didn't have a choice. And so then you would have an issue with telling people, you'd have a big publicity campaign, I could imagine that, to say, keep in mind, it's going up even more on the peak. And there's even super peaks that they have. So they'll have a peak, and then they have a peak within a peak. But for us, most of our folks are tuned in. They've been waiting for this, for us to squeeze down the time frame and lower the costs. And I think we'll probably end up getting a significant increase in the number of folks who are participating in this now, especially as you see electric vehicles get more popular, and folks are going to be able to charge those in the off-peak, especially at night. I think you're going to see more people interested in this program than before, and it's going to benefit more people, I think, now than maybe it did in the past. Yeah. But overall, I guess, we are publicizing this. We've started to publicize it a little bit as we've changed, because it's over, as Craig said, a 3-year period that the full implementation is rolled out. And so we've been getting that word out to our customer and talking to folks, and we will continue to push that as we get closer to that third year, as I call it, where the ultimate TOU timeframe is implemented.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought it was mandatory. I did not know it was optional.
It's a kind of, in the industry right now, at the point we're in right now, there's a lot of differences of opinions about TOU rates. Some folks like it. Other utilities say there's no way. I think as you begin to see things change with regards to the electrification of the transportation system, and you see people as the rates in this state are going to continue to go up. There's just no question about it. And we have some of the highest rates in the nation right now. I think people are going to begin to look real close at ways that they can reduce their bills. And this is going to become more popular for those folks. We've done some studies on potential for a standardized TOU rate across the board. Obviously, it's something we can do. As Craig said, we have the infrastructure in place that would make it rather easy. I just don't think the time is right now. I think more folks might get hurt by that than would benefit. But as you begin to see habits change and folks, buying electric vehicles is one big deal. Mm-hmm. You might see that whole thing change.
I'm interested in how these technologies interface with rooftop solar systems or residential solar systems, because we do have a lot of customers who, like me, have solar on their roofs. And how do they interface with that technology?
Well, we have the mobile app that will show your usage or your generation from your system. Does the frame show? No, the frame, the mobile app will show your generation. And I believe O-Power does too. No, okay, the mobile app.
Mm-hmm.
Following that question, big solar systems now, they can inject reactive power. But the smaller systems, they don't do that. In one of your slides, you showed that you're controlling the reactive power. How you're doing that?
The voltage?
No,
program?
reactive power.
I don't.
The VARs. VARs.
No,
I don't.
What we're doing is voltage regulation.
Voltage.
So we don't have a reactive power component. So we've got a voltage regulation. You want to talk a little bit about the DVR or the DVI?
We have this program, Conservation Voltage Reduction Program. Now each feeder is supposed to maintain a certain voltage. I think it's between 110 and 124. In that range. Well, the lower you can keep the voltage and still maintain the voltage across the system, the more energy you can set. In the old days, you just crank up the voltage so you knew that you got 110 volts to the last house on the feeder. Well, now we have bellwether meters along the feeder, like 30 of them, that keep the voltage at that point on the feeder. And then you can adjust the load tap changer to make sure that you keep the voltage from going too high or too low to maintain a certain level, and you try and keep that range low.
Thank you for that. My question was not about automatic voltage regulation. It was, do you have, because as much solar you add, then you have to adjust your reactive power. Mm-hmm. So you're not doing anything about that?
That's a question for the engineer.
Mm-hmm. Just real quick. Mm-hmm. Commissioners, Dan Scorza, Assistant General Manager, Electric. Yes, we do control VARs, but we have a different system to do that. So that's measured at the substations, and we do have VAR capacitor banks that are turned on to control the voltage in the system. We don't use these meters for that purpose.
Actually, you're controlling the cosine phi.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And it could be done from our generation facility, but also from our capacitor banks as well. Okay. Yeah. In the future, when we have batteries with the large inverters, those will control it much better. We do have one battery system now, the small 2 megawatt system that also can control VARs. Mm-hmm. But mainly it's done through capacitor banks at 2 substations and then our generation facilities.
So you're controlling power factor?
Yes. Yeah, so we do have VAR control, but not using these meters for that purpose.
Okay.
But that's something that could be done in the future where you can fine tune it. But again, this is sort of voltage control, which also adjusts VARs as well as we optimize the voltage.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Just so that I'm clear, the time of use also is voluntary for commercial and industrial?
For everybody.
For everybody, okay. And then just another question in regards to demand response. In terms of having the ability to either take control of an air conditioning system or whatever it may be, do we have that ability to do that through our AMI?
Not today, but we are looking at programs that will be demand response and adjust air conditioning.
So currently we don't have any volunteer.
We have a behavioral demand response that we do every summer. Where
Self-imposed.
Yes, it's pretty effective.
Okay.
You send an email out to 40,000 customers and tell them tomorrow, please lower your power between this time and this time, and people do. But it's not direct load control.
Correct. That's coming.
It's something we're looking at.
We're looking at, yes.
And then just in terms of data security for an advanced meter, can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so the way these meters are set up, it's two-factor communication. So when you put a meter out there, it has to have a certain key inserted into it, and so you can't hack into the system through a meter. I have an IT expert that can
come up here and address.
give you.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Knoll. I'm the Utility Business System Support Administrator for Glendale Water and Power. So as far as the encryption and decryption, we have a Certicom appliances that encrypt and decrypt the meters constantly. So there's no way that they can, if they hack into a meter, it would the keys would change almost within seconds. So there's really no way for anybody to be able to hack into it. We've never had an instance of that occurring either.
Okay, thanks.
And how many, last question, how many advanced meters do we have out there today?
About 86,000 electric, 33,000 water. We're 100%.
100%. Okay. Thank you.
Next item, I
Next
guess.
on the list. Strategic.
5B, strategic plan update.
Okay, strategic plan update. So the format of our strategic plan, we have our vision, mission, core values, and strategic areas of focus. Our vision is to be recognized as a trusted community partner with a reputation for excellence, reliability, exceptional customer service, innovation, affordability, and sustainability. Mission, building upon more than 100 years of history, Glendale Water and Power shall provide safe and reliable water and electrical services for citizens of Glendale in a cost-efficient, transparent, affordable, and sustainable manner. Core values: excellence, integrity, honesty, trust, fairness, teamwork, respect, accountability, compassion, and cultural awareness. These are the same values as the city has. Our scorecard, we have green, yellow, and red. Green is we're ahead of schedule or exceeding. It also can mean we've completed that goal. Yellow, we're on track. And red, we're behind schedule or below. So I have this long thing, but I do have a summary here. We have 75 goals that are on schedule. We have 6 areas of focus and 90 goals. 75 of those goals are on schedule or meeting expectations. 8 are green, they're ahead of schedule or exceeding or complete, and 7 are red or behind. So affordability and fiscal responsibility All the goals are yellow and on schedule. Customer service, there's 23 goals on schedule. 7 are ahead and 4 are behind. You can see goal 2 under strategy 1, configure the call screen pop-up by December 2019. That requires some work from City ISD, and we're working with them to get that done so we can complete that goal. And then goal strategy 3, goal 4 and 5, they're red. Basically, we had a little time getting the contract signed. It's now signed, so it's complete. So implementation was delayed somewhat. This will be green in March, February, March timeframe. So, and strategy 4, goal 1, there we go. This is red. We're waiting for the city munis team to test the file export. We hope to have that done shortly. So under workforce, all these goals are on schedule. There's 6 goals, or 6 strategies, and they're all on schedule. Reliability, we have 13 on schedule, 1 is ahead of schedule, and 3 are behind schedule. The strategy 1, goal 2, complete Unit 9 controls upgrades. We're waiting to hire the owner's engineer for the Grayson repower because they're needed for this project.
And this slowed down because the entire repower project has slowed down. So we're keeping this in line with that.
So you have strategy 2, goal 5, 4 kV to 12 kV feeder conversions. The goal was 2 a year. We're tracking to do 1 a year.
And you'll see that in the next one that Craig's going to hit on, which is pole replacement. And this is it's a complicated issue, and it's a function of having enough manpower to do it. And we just, with everything else we have going on, we have found ourselves probably going to stretch this out a little bit more. Certainly, the question comes up, well, you can hire more people. Keep in mind, these are electrical linemen, so there's a 4-year apprentice program before you ever even get out there. We've got the maximum number of apprentices we're allowed, and at this point in time, just being able to keep the vacancies filled. In other words, as you turn people over through retirement or leaving the city, we're graduating apprentices in that regard. So it slowed us down a little bit, but we'll continue to forge ahead. And we're hoping to have some fruitful discussions with the labor union to see if there's also some options for us to see if we can speed this particular aspect of our conversion program up.
Okay, that covers the poles. The goal was 300. We're probably looking at 100, and for the reasons Steve said. Sustainability, we have 14 goals. They're all on schedule or meeting. Automation, we have 11 goals, and those are all on schedule or meeting expectations. Do you have any questions?
What are the reasons you're changing the poles? It's deteriorated, or?
Yes, they're either deteriorated. That's generally what they are. They've deteriorated through age. So many of our poles are 50 years or more. So that's getting a little bit long in the tooth, so to speak. So we want to go through and make sure that we're keeping that infrastructure up to par. We had an experience this last summer where we had a pole snap, and the chain reaction that occurred from that was a big job. It took us to fix that. So we need to get in and make sure that we're keeping the pole infrastructure as up to date as possible.
Have you investigated if it's possible to to go underground?
We have. It's always possible. It's just financially more than we would be able to handle. The cost is tremendous. You know, it'll be easy 3, if not 4 or 5 times more than what it costs overhead. So in situations where we have new installations, we immediately look to that. But in a lot of cases, it's a very difficult thing to do, and just the impact, the rate impact would be tremendous. We have looked at alternative types of poles, maybe poles that last longer, composite type or metal, so we're continuing to look at those. Those are installations that would last longer than a wooden pole, obviously, and not be as susceptible to the environment as wooden poles are. So we continue to look for those kind of options. And we will look where we can, where undergrounding does make sense and is not such a financial impact as to hurt us and more importantly, hurt the customer.
The pole replacement issue seems to be a labor issue more and not a financial issue. Am I correct in that?
Right, that and the conversion. So the 4 kV to 12 kV conversion, those are just not having enough folks on staff to do that work. And we're working a tremendous amount of overtime. Plus these, along with those other scenarios that I gave you, is these men, and they're at this point in time is only men doing this, are governed by certain OSHA laws on how long they can work and how much they can work. So I can't work them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, obviously.
Are these issues going to be considered when the MOU comes up for the unions on this?
We're in the middle of it right now.
Okay.
But I can tell you the alternative is to contract the work, and that is not going to go over well.
Yeah.
And the labor unions have traditionally not accepted that.
Okay.
So what we're hoping to do is, because this is a very focused effort, the 4 kV to 12 kV, we think it makes sense from a maintenance standpoint, which means it translates into a better opportunity or a better situation for the folks that are actually doing the work, is to see if we can't bring in some level of help on a short-term basis to address just this. So we're not going to take jobs away. We're not going to take overtime away. We're going to continue to let our staff do as much as they possibly can. This would just be to augment them for that period of time that we complete the conversion. It's a discussion we've had in the past. It didn't go working out well previously, but we're hoping to bring it up again and see if we can't talk about it a little bit more.
Is there representatives for the public with regards to, from the safety perspective? Because if these things get delayed way too much, then it could potentially become safety issues for the public as well.
Well, and we have the ability, if we feel that it is that level of a safety issue, we can intervene. That would be an emergency situation where we could intervene. We don't see it as that at that point now. But we're hoping that we can work something out with the unions on that and be able to do it.
Just to continue that discussion, just a quick question. Do we have the ability to layer on top of that from our previous discussion of prioritizing the poles that could be in that wildfire mitigation?
Yes.
So making those priority.
Yes, and I think you saw that when you saw the wildfire mitigation.
Right.
So that's something that we're looking at in a little bit different light because of the situation that, the tier 2 and tier 3 areas. So absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are the priority. And the electric operation is embarking on a master plan, which will set forth it's an inventory of our infrastructure, it's a condition assessment of our infrastructure, and then from there you begin to lay out the priorities and thus the capital program that you put in place each year. So that's something that the water department has done and completed, and the electric operation has that task underway right now.
One final question with regards to the polls. Seems we are behind 200 polls a year because the target is 300 and we're meeting 100. How many years has this been going on so that I could say we're behind this many polls at this point? With regards to urgency of the matter, I'm just trying to determine.
We do regular poll inspections and replace those polls as we go along. I couldn't tell you for sure what the practice was in the past. We just decided to change and be a little bit more proactive in the pole replacement. And as the 4 kV to 12 kV conversion goes, we replace poles at the same time. So there's two integrated operations there. We just want to step it up a little bit. We don't think we have an emergency or a dangerous situation now. We wouldn't let it get that way, but we would like to step it up. I'm a big advocate of ensuring that our infrastructure is as solid as it can be. And, while somebody may say something will last 70 years, 50 years is a better depreciation schedule and gives everybody a better peace of mind, I'm all for doing that as well.
I have one general question. You said all the technicians that they're doing this are men. Is there any reason that women are not included in this program?
They're more than welcome to. We've never obviously denied any access to the program, but I think if you looked industry-wide, what we find is that this is a male-dominated. It's a tough job. It's a dangerous job. It just seems to be male-dominated at every level. So these are the electrical linemen that climb the poles, and there's no reason other than a desire or not having a desire to do that work that would keep somebody out of it. So it's definitely open to everybody, but it is a very tough job, and we do have a lot of washout in that because of the nature of the work.
Yeah, there is no tougher job than Marines, and ladies are there.
Yeah.
And we have our hiking team. There are like 80 people, and a couple of months ago, they hiked to Ararat Mountain, and almost half of them were women. And we have this practice of climbing. So women are more than men. They like to, climb the rocks. So I think that if you train women, they can do that.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that a woman could do it. It's just a matter of if they want to do it. And so when we go out and do our recruitments for the younger folks at the college and high school level, and we talk to everybody about that's interested in it, and it's definitely open, and we encourage everyone to apply, and I would love to see us have our first woman lineman.
And my discussion was
person.
for encouraging.
Yes.
Publicly.
Absolutely.
Any other comments? No? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Madam Clerk, next item, please.
6, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The general manager may refer the matter to the appropriate staff for investigation and report.
I have no cards. Any cards been submitted?
No cards.
Next item, please.
7, agenda forecast.
Mr. President, members of the commission, so we've given you the new year, which is really just kind of the annual updates that we, either annual or quarterly, however we have those set up. And as we go through the year, we, as you know, will add things to that list as there's an interest on the part of the commission or something develops. Obviously, somewhere in there, you're going to see a Grayson update as soon as we have enough information, as I had talked to you about in our last meeting. Also in here would be a capital improvement project update, so we can go through both water and electric and all of the capital projects that we're doing. And as you recall, I talked about us talking about not only the infrastructure upgrades, the resiliency issues for the future. So this is just our kind of start of the year schedule, and we'll go from there as we add things and things come up and you have a desire to get information on something.
I don't know. Commissioners, anybody wants to add comments on this agenda?
I would. Was the Shoal Canyon going to be part of the capital improvement?
Yes, that's in our capital improvement budget, but we can also make it a separate presentation.
Yeah, I'd like that. I requested that last. I think we said first quarter. So
first quarter, the EIR is still being put together, so
Okay.
There hasn't been a lot of change in the information. So yeah, I think first quarter is a good estimate for us.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. All right, well, last item is adjournment. Anybody wants to move?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
And Merry Christmas to everybody.
And it's adjourned.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.